And we're live. Hello and welcome to Hex Therapy Live with Maddie ALLin. I'm going to run the intro and then bring up our special guest. I hope everybody got a chance to see the Richard Hart stream that's now just ending. And so we wanted to be here to catch the audience before they take off. So let's get started with Hex Therapy Live. Welcome, everyone.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research. There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
And we're back. Hey, so welcome to our guest on Hex Therapy Live, Future Us.
I am special. My mother told me I was special many times.
We love that. And for those of you who are tuning in, Richard Hart just did a live stream, and I'm here in Florida reporting live, visiting some friends and onboarding people as always. What's been going on with you?
I'm here not in Florida. I haven't been visiting anyone. And now I feel sad. But otherwise, everything's good. Yeah, I've been enjoying my electric scooter that I smashed my face on. Just about healed now, look, see? Yeah, and the lip, I can just about kiss girls again, so that's good.
I'm glad you're recovering well. I know we both hit our heads in the past month, and it's no good.
You weren't completely unconscious for 15 minutes, so I went on that particular score.
Correct.
I did do the time travel thing, though, sort of referencing a certain DeLorean.
Sure, yeah.
I remember coming into consciousness maybe twice, but really only once. And the last time I did, the first thing I heard was, "Oh, that's new. Maybe he'll stick around this time." Apparently, I'd been through this cycle of blacking out and coming to and blacking out and coming to, and I said the same thing every time. Where am I? What happened?
That is not what you want to hear when you come out of a coma or a blackout.
He told me
or
he told me that the next day when I went back to pick up the scooter he'd put in his garage for me, but I was like, no way. I wondered how the ambulance got there so dang quick. But anyway.
Yeah.
Dodged that bullet. Yeah.
Hello to everybody in the chat. Ballet Brand says, hit the like and subscribe button. Go ahead and do that now, everybody. Hello to Hex King Greenhorn, Cookies and Crypto. It's now. Crypto King, what up? Gary Fisk, good to see ya. Dragon7, Jay-Z Hexing, and Crypto Gains Club. Peter, Sir Edwards Trichome, Hex Monkey, Piston Broke, good to see everybody. Crypto 303, what's up? Ash. Everybody's coming in now. Richard must have just finished. There we go. So what's on the agenda today? What are we going to talk about?
I don't know. It's your show, Maddie.
The truth?
And I don't want to take responsibility for whatever topic you make me talk about, okay?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So.
Let's talk about truth. Why not?
Are there any corrections that we have from any of the streams recently? I think on the last Quant Gang, we talked about the origin address coins being circulating, and you've done some chain analysis, and we've got an update on that. Is that right?
Oh no, I haven't done any additional chain analysis. I've just got my old-fashioned opinion that I haven't changed, which I guess we could dissect if you want.
I think it's worth reviewing because we do have a lot of people on this channel who are already experts in Hex. And so whenever an expert such as myself gets something a little bit wrong or wants to learn something more, it's really helpful to have people like you who are really good at understanding what the what the details are. So maybe we could pick apart how the origin address is not really an origin address anymore. Is that a good place to start?
I know. Yeah, I'd like to talk about that, but I'm just busting to say this other thing first. And I'm going to say this with respect to those involved and those who have different opinions for reasons I'm not entirely sure, because I haven't had a chance to talk to anyone yet. But I don't think Clay was lying, and I think the way that the quote-unquote market cap is being displayed and recorded now is almost exactly how it should have been from day one, given what we now know. That's hindsight.
That's a really unpopular opinion.
I know.
I'm glad you're sharing it on the show.
Well, I have said it before. I've said it many times before, at least once on stream. I remember on one stream, I can't remember which one, but I remember saying nothing good can come from popularizing the idea that the OA, being multiple parts in fact, are all the same entity and control all the coins, so to speak. I didn't say that anything bad could come of it, because I had no prediction. But one of the reasons for that was, well, there's two things. The first one, and the most important one, is because in my mind, that very idea, and it's hard, right? Let me just preface this by saying, obviously we sought to understand what the OA, and I'll get to that, was doing and how it operated and where things were going, and that's cool. And a narrative built around it, which may or may not be accurate, and that's cool too. But, expectation of profits from the work of others. Now, most times we ever brought up, and I think it's still true today, we ever bring up the OA, we would say, we don't know what they're going to do, but we can talk about what they've done. I think in very recent times we've kind of forgotten that little bit at the beginning, and it's sort of become, this is the OA, this is who they are, not the name, but this is their character, this is how they behave, and this is what we can kind of count on. I haven't heard those words, but there's definitely that feeling in the narrative now, which that's a problem in my opinion, because it's pure speculation. We don't know who the OA is or how many people are involved, and we do know that technically there's at least 3 different potential groups or people or entities involved.
Whales.
And we call them all OA as if they're one collective, which they may or may not be, and that's always bugged me.
Yeah, so to speak to this, I think there are a lot of different ways we could characterize or try to understand the OA, right? And in the beginning, the OA was an address where people were interacting with in the year-long launch phase of Hex in order to acquire Hex through a crowd sale. Is that correct?
I'm not actually entirely sure that is correct, because there's 2 addresses. You've kind of caught me.
Okay, so there was a 2-address system that was a part of. I mean, let's.
I should be sure. You've kind of caught me on the run there, on the hop. I should be sure of this because I knew it absolute, because it's very easily, it's just right there in the code. But I can't. I hit my head. I can't quite remember, but there's 2 addresses. But so the OA,
there was the flush address.
The flush address and the origin address. I'm
Yes.
pretty sure the flush address was where the Ethereum went, was it not? For the adoption.
For the adoption amplifier.
Yeah. And the origin address, that is the address that is named origin address in the actual contract code, that is the address that receives half of the penalties from early end stakes and whatnot, and some other stuff.
Okay.
I think at the present time that's about all it receives. And so for the longest time when people were talking about the OA, I was so confused. And everyone assumed that I knew what everyone was talking about with the OA, and I'm scratching my head and I'm going, that can't be right, that can't be right. There can't have ever been that amount of funds in the origin address. But oh well, whatever, I haven't done the chain analysis. And then one day I thought, dang it, I'm going to have a look. And I went and had a look at the origin address, and of course it only had a fraction of the total figures that we were all talking about. And then it suddenly occurred to me, it's like, oh my goodness. So what I know is the origin address, the OA, everybody seems to be talking about that and a bunch of other stuff and lumping it in under the same term. And you'll remember that. I came to you and I was like, oh, well, and you're like, no way. And I'm like, yes way. Call me a literalist. Now I get it.
So another way to characterize what many in the community mean when they say OA, or what some people mean, is project controlled coins. No, or explain.
I haven't heard anybody use it in that context where they seem to know that that's kind of what they mean. But certainly Clay has gathered together all the various things that we've said and kind of implied are a single entity, and he has given them, that's Clay from Nomics, the the label project controlled coins, and that's a huge can of worms, because it's not a project, it's a finished product, just right off the bat. And yeah, I mean,
okay, so I'm trying to recap like what the thinking has been, but what we're finding is that there are a lot of different definitions mixed into one, and people are using them somewhat indiscriminately, or people's understanding is increasing over time, which makes it hard to look back and say, oh, that's what we've always been talking about, because our understanding has evolved.
There's the strictly technical truths, and then there's the narratives that have grown, and I don't.
Yes.
There's nothing sinister or like the narratives and the stories and the narrative that we've built up. I see nothing wrong with it, so long as it's taken in the context that it is a narrative, and it is speculation, and it's part of a story. And this is very different in my mind to what specifically the origin address is, and the eth, as in where did the eth go, that eth, and whatnot. From a technical point of view, which is where a ranking site is interested, that's what they want to know. And they've asked the question and they didn't get an answer. They got a bunch of hate, but push that aside. They just didn't get an answer. So, as was clearly explained, they took the most conservative approach, which is that, well, it seems that the general market isn't in control of 90% of the coins, therefore we can't really consider those circulating. And I was like, saw that coming months ago, because that's the story we've been telling. They're never going to move.
Yes.
Which is it's a shame, because we don't really know they're never going to move. That's again just speculation. And now Wales only. Love you, bro. Totally respect where you're coming from, by the way.
I respect Wales too.
Yeah, no, totally. There's a lot to be said for a person sticking to, the integrity thing. And I hope to talk about it someday. Now, Wales, he brought up the point poignantly that, you can't go changing the definition of words like market cap. And I agree, that is true. unfortunately, the term market cap has been used in crypto land when it's not actually market cap that they're measuring. It started off as market cap, which I guess is why the term got there, but instantly a bunch of fake tokens and everything came along and said, oh, we'll have 10 trillion coins, and I sold one for 2 cents, and so, and it blew the stats out. So they had to come up with, they being the collective, well, coin market cap at the time, I guess, it's the only one that was. They were like, well, we can't have all these random spam coins every time we add them just showing up at number 1 through 100 and then disappearing again, because of course they go to 0.
Yes.
And then it doesn't even matter that they've got 10 trillion coins, because each one's worth so close to 0 that they still drop off the list. And so it was a behavior, it was a hack that people were doing to try and sort of fool the ranking and try to... There was the ranking, but there was also, like, if we have 1 trillion coins and then we launch at only 0.000001 cent each, then it's so cheap, so you'll be able to make so much money because it only has to go to 1 cent, and it's all complete nonsense. But all of that was going on, and it had the effect of the fake market cap and everything else. So something had to be done, and that's where this ethos, I guess you could say, of just going, well, if they're project-controlled coins, like we used to talk about pre-mine, we used to just call them pre-mine, How much pre-mine is there? Every time a new coin or token hit the market, we'd want to know how much pre-mine. Because in the old days, when it was full chains, like forks of Bitcoin, you'd set the difficulty level to sort of nothing and pre-mine a whole bunch of coins.
Yes.
For the project owners. And then you'd launch the public network with the difficulty level, adjusted to normal. And so that's what we called it, pre-mine. And we kept calling it pre-mine with the Ethereum tokens for quite a while. And then at some point, I guess we kind of caught up with the fact that they're not really being mined. They're just typing in a number. I want 10 trillion coins, enter, and boom, tokens, I should say. And so the term, project-controlled coins or tokens came around. And this all happened at all different times and different people catching up with it and falling behind and coming, and there were various other terms that came and went. But that's where it's at. So market cap sites in crypto do not rank via market cap, strictly speaking, anymore. So they are kind of changing the definition, and I totally agree with Wales on that. They shouldn't. And I don't really even particularly see the harm, really, in these hack attempts making fake data and ranking really high on the sites, because they won't stay there for long, and it would be a more truthful indication of what's actually going on. And it would also indicate that, well, maybe this market cap thing isn't really worth a damn in the crypto space. And Clay also said he'd rather have something different, but what? And I don't have an answer to that. In DeFi, maybe we could rank tokens by, we could say, are they completed projects or are they projects, for starters? So sorry, products or projects. And then maybe we could rank them on, a cumulative USD value of yield paid since inception or something like that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it really matter? Do we even need ranking sites?
I've been listening to everybody on this topic, of course, so forgive me if I misattribute who said this originally, but it might have been Gerardo and John Wick who said another way to rank things would be by users and the amount of value locked or something.
Yeah, but it's just so hard to know how many users, I mean, that's an easy hack for a new project, right? Just create 10 million, 100 billion unique addresses and all make them trade one of your 20 quadrillion tokens and ta-da, ranked number 1. And so then some kind of anti-spam thing has to come in. We need to solve this right now. We need a solution right now. I think ranking sites suck. I don't think we need them at all. I don't think we should rank them.
We should rank based on how many people go to the Hex conference in Las Vegas.
Yeah, how about community size and the amount of noise they make. I mean, This is not. See, that's another thing too. Like, there's this drive to get the old world to take crypto seriously, and to try and make it seem like, you know, we're the real deal now, not the old stuff that's falling apart. Crypto is what you got to take seriously now. But I kind of get it. But it just seems like taking the old fiat centralized control mentalities and sort of asking for their permission to validate crypto. And I don't think we should take crypto very seriously.
You just got muted somehow.
Oh, I'm not. Did I? Everything's working here. Test 1 2.
Yes.
Didn't do anything, I don't think. Yeah, I don't actually think that crypto, even the really, you know, the big market cap coins like Bitcoin, really should be taken all that seriously. Now, you know, I get that it is serious, and I get that where there's real money involved, it's no joke. I get all that. But the this whole, like, you know, we want to appear like a blue chip company that's, you know, steadfast and been around for a long time and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that shit just doesn't fit in crypto. And it doesn't matter. We don't need validation from any freaking authority. And we don't need, I don't think, any call to authority. So that kind of bugs me. But, you know, at the end of the day, all of this stuff is going to exist. There's so many different cultures. Crypto touches the lives of everyone that, you know, it might be interested in. All the different cultures, all the different political, religious, and everything else. It's all jumbled in there. And so, and that's good. I love that. I love the diversity of it all. And when you start to get into but we need to find the one truth, well, I get that. It's good to know where things are at, and I think people should always have a skeptical and an inquiring mind. But dang it, we're inventing the future here, day by day. What truth are we going to discover? The past barely exists in crypto, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah. I try very hard not to take any of it too seriously. There's a fine line between, you know, writing people off as stupid, don't make no sense, you know, and actually giving them some respect somewhere in that, taking seriously. So in general, I don't take the whole crypto space all that seriously, because anything can and does and will happen in crypto for the foreseeable future. But the people and what they believe and their principles and whatnot.
I've got it. You're
always going to clash.
I got the idea. I've got it. I know how we can rank cryptos in a way that is far, far, far superior to anything else.
Oh, okay.
I got to come up with a good name for it, though, because I literally just thought of this like in the past 1 minute.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's got to have a really good name. All right, here we go. So the idea is, you base it on your rank as a crypto is based on whoever the founder is or whoever controls the majority of the supply. How much value do they have in other cryptos, so they never have to sell their baby?
Wow, I see some privacy issues in getting that kind of data, but
it's a free world. You don't have to show your bags, but if you do, then you get to go to the top of Maddie's list.
That could work. I mean, for Maddie's list, I'd be all in on that. I'd definitely check out Maddie's list every now and again.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know,
I wouldn't.
If we want to decide, you know, if we want to see if somebody's going to sell, because that's really what matters, right? With all of this, is the founder going to rug pull? Well, what are their incentives?
You don't know.
What is their proof of
the
stake?
game theory, yeah. We could talk about the game theory and somehow rank the game theory, but it's all subjective. Unfortunately,
I love talking about game theory, and it is subjective, but also it works in the real world, right? Because that's what
because that's what game theory does.
Spends.
Game theory hacks subjectivity.
Yes,
as applied to crypto, at least. Yeah.
Let's hack away.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm still leaning towards screw ranking sites. Give me the data. I want the data, but I don't see what the rankings got to do with anything.
So the longer coins are inactive or ideally time locked by whales, that could be what matters the most when it comes to ranking on a list.
I don't know. I mean, I go to Nomics, CoinMarketCap, or whatever. I mean, usually the first thing I do is click one of the headings at the top to sort it in anything but market cap, because market cap's meaningless more and more to me. So,
is there a way to
rank them chronologically?
Is there a way to sort by how many millions of dollars have been donated to medical research? We need to get Clay on here right now and
but it's
getting some of this stuff programmed.
It's all narrative, though. I think if they have to put them in any order at all, I think it should be chronological order of when they were released or when they were added to the site. No, when they were released. So they'll have to retrospectively correct that if they were late adding some to the site. And that's it. And then you'll be able to click on whatever rank. And
what if
you could have a market cap column?
What if we just did a Reddit upvote type of thing?
Well, yeah. Why not?
But then,
it works for Reddit.
Into bot armies, but
yeah, I mean, I was going to say it works for Reddit well enough that it made me hate Reddit, so I don't go there anymore. But that just feeds back into my "do we really need ranking at all?" argument. So, yeah, I don't know. And there's that other argument about market cap too, of course. Like, some people might think that, oh well, if you're only half the market cap of Ethereum already, then why would I invest in you? You're done and dusted. You've made all the money you're going to make. I want to invest in something that's new and upcoming. So I mean. It's funny, you can't trade market cap, but what websites say about market cap, or what communities, not just the Hex community, but all the other communities like the haters and whatnot, what they say about what the market cap sites say about the market cap does affect the price. It's just like, oh man.
Hey, here we go. Solutions coming in from the creator of StakeHex.today, an awesome site. Everybody should go check out the website StakeHex.today. And Key says, what about a rolling performance figure? For example, on average, if you held for 6 months, you would be up or down X%. I like that.
Yeah, that has merit. I mean, I guess what we're really talking about is ranking coins via US dollar. Yeah, it's yield as well. Yeah, I don't know, because Bitcoin doesn't have yield; it only has market price. So.
Or Bitcoin.
I don't know. I vote no rank. No rank. Hex is the best, no matter where it's ranked. We've already established that, right? So, I don't know. Future us, let's rank stuff based on frickin' gas fees. Frickin' gas fees, yeah.
That's a really good idea.
I want lasers on the gas fees. I want frickin' gas fees with lasers, or gas fees with frickin' lasers.
But that's something you can't fake. That's literally ranking it by proof of spend.
It's kind of, I mean, it just comes down to how. Yeah, I mean, then you have. I get the sentiment. It's sort of seems like a good idea, but launch a new chain, have no transactions, no gas at all, and number one. That's cool.
How are you number one?
Because you have no gas fees.
No, ranked based on the most gas fees paid.
Oh, like how active the network is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then you've got just sort of how popular it is. Well, we kind of sort of have that. I mean, there's this whole thing about trading volume, right? That argument, trading volume is where it's at. It's not, but it's kind of the same thing. Gas volume, trading volume.
But gas volume would be different than trading volume.
Yeah, on a decentralized exchange, it would compare 1-to-1 probably.
And that's what a true crypto is in my opinion traded on a decentralized exchange. So that would cut out all the noise of centralized exchanges. Although it would favor projects that, products and projects should be favored that are decentralized.
Yeah, and high-speed bot trading would come along and destroy them all pretty quickly. So, I mean, it's coming back to like we're trying to solve problems in the future that don't exist yet, or I am, and invent narratives around things that may not even exist. I mean, like, a year ago, no one was going to have the balls to just fork Ethereum because we're sick of it and take the whole system state with it. Well, 2 years ago. So that wasn't on the radar. And now it is. And it's huge. Just like the biggest thing ever in all of crypto. And so all the solutions we might have been coming up for scaling Ethereum and getting the gas fees down sort of didn't include that. But that's the solution that's actually happening for now anyway. What have we got here?
It's so in the movie Back to the Future, Doc Brown hit his head, and that's how he came up with the idea for the flux capacitor. So if you and I have any good ideas here, we will be following in movie history. Children of the Grave says ranking is not needed. Imagine that.
Oh, that's what Kochi means. Nice. I learned something today. Rank by percentage gains. Ranking by percentage gains is just ranking by price, really. I mean, okay, you've got a time component there, but and all the ranking sites do that already. I mean, that's one of the first things I click on. It's like, who's going up and down the most today? Because market cap's meaningless. It really is. When you don't own any Bitcoin and you're just over it, the fact that it's number one on a list is so totally irrelevant. But that's an OG speaking. A newcomer is like, all they've heard is Bitcoin. They don't know there's anything else to rank against. It's like, isn't crypto and Bitcoin the same thing?
We should rank cryptos based on not total value locked, but T-share years locked, right? Because that's value times the amount of time it's locked. And that's what really matters for price. So if we want to signal to people, like,
just rank it on the price.
But not by, I mean,
see, the irony of this is you won't
back at market cap.
You'll never get them to rank on price because the price is a taboo topic. I forget. We talk about it all the time in Hex, but you go to almost any other community and start talking about price and you just get shut down because we're in it for the tech, remember? So could you even get them to rank on price when you're not even allowed to talk about it? It's just like, what
rank
does it
based
do?
on, you mean, like, price
What problem does your
what?
token... What problem does your token solve? Oh, well, the price goes... What does it do?
Well, what if it was...
What does it do?
Lifetime ROI. Well, see, even lifetime ROI. What about, like...
I think the number of people showing up at the conference is about the best one we've come up with so far.
Well, then let's sell some tickets, everybody. HexConference.com. This is been a really long advertisement for the Hex conference.
Yeah. How many hexagons in the House of Representatives for countries that have them?
And listen,
That's a good rank.
Cardano had thousands of people show up to their conference, so I'm just saying.
Okay.
It has to be market cap. The question is, how many coins are publicly held and available? It just needs to be the same for every coin. Does anyone else hear an echo?
I don't hear an echo. And yeah, sure, market cap. But you see, market cap comes from the share market, and it's a very simple formula. When you create a company, you you have to have permission and everything as well. But all that aside, you decide on the number of shares is going to be, and for all intents and purposes, for this argument's sake, that's that. And so then it's a simple formula to multiply what the share's market value is for a share and multiply that by the number of shares there are. And since the idea that a company would lock up all the shares and say, we're just going to burn them, they're never ever going to be sold, and look, they don't exist anymore, is nonsensical. There's no means to be able to do that. Then market cap makes perfect sense. And crypto screws that up if you're multiplying the total number of coins or tokens by whatever their current market price is, because that number is just a random variable.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, I like what Richard said. He said it doesn't matter. He said, why not cycle through different narratives by like having it get knocked down the list and then rise again. So I'm pretty happy with that. He didn't spend too much time on it. I do love this comment by ALLin. Thank you for the $5 super chat. The only thing better than Hex and staking Hex is the vibe coming from you two gentlemen.
Oh my God. Am I producing a vibe? That didn't happen before my accident. Thank you for the comment, by the way. I must be something about how my head got rearranged. I'm vibing now? Man. Yeah. That's
Don't
cool.
try this at home.
Don't you? No. Yeah. Oh, boy.
And then somebody's asking, where can you get a chain like this? So it's Hex on this side and Pulse on this side. And
didn't even notice.
Where can you get it? It's at shapeways.com and search for Hex and Pulse chains, and then the actual chain came from Amazon.
Very good. Echo was a joke. Echo was a joke. Echo was a joke. Echo was a joke.
So
I want all the new hexagons and pulsagons.
And I do want to get back to the OA versus the adoption amplifier and just kind of make the point that I was hoping to get to, which was, are they project controlled coins? It's not a project, right? And we don't know who controls them.
It's not a project, so they can't be project
whether
controlled.
They're going to sell or be moved in the future or not. We know that
they're not burned, therefore they are liquid. That's an argument.
They are liquid. They do exist. So we don't know, right?
Yeah. And I'm not saying, I didn't mean to say before that I think they should not be counted. The point I was making is that it seemed inevitable, given the narrative that would come up with, that eventually economics would go, well, hey, if they're never going to move, and that's just the common knowledge. Because with other projects, the project creators generally publicize on their website, there will be this many quote-unquote pre-mined tokens that we will hold, and they will be used, 30% for this, 20% for that, 10% for advertising and blah, 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 and rah, and we'll burn them if they haven't been used, whatever they say. It's all there and advertised. And so in cases like that, the ranking sites just go read that and go, well, okay, they're not going to be in circulation because they're held by the contract, and we know that. Sweet, we won't count them. In the case of Hex, it's not known. Although, of course, you could argue that, now hang on a minute, that's bollocks. Of course it's known. There's a function you can call right there in the contract that tells you the circulating supply, and it is the circulating supply for all of the reasons above mentioned and everything else. And that is factually true. The problem, of course, is that the idea of project-controlled coins has now been conflated and made to be sort of part of Hex to try and make sense of its meteoric rise to number 3.
Yes.
And when you're a data aggregator and you're trying to produce accurate data that makes sense, especially, I mean, remember they rank how many thousands of coins?
Thousands, tens of thousands.
Right, and almost all of the tokens have these project-controlled coins.
Yes.
And almost all of them, if you didn't take those out of the math, I mean, Bitcoin would end up ranked, God knows where, on page 80 something or other, because all these trillions and trillions of token coins would all be market cap ranked at the top.
Yes.
So the but the problem with all of this is there's no. I'm not making an argument here because the argument's kind of moot. It's irrelevant. It just Hex doesn't work like that. It isn't a project. It doesn't have project controlled coins. Most of the 90%. Oh, is that true? Maybe not most, but almost most of the 90% of tokens were only found through chain analysis, and they were purchased on market through the adoption amplifier, a great number of them. Ethereum that could have been used to buy a Lamborghini instead of a Ferrari, for example, went back in and purchased Hex, invested back in its own project. That's circulating supply, clear as a day to me. Purchased on market, it's circulating supply. Okay, chain analysis reveals that a lot of that was split into lots and lots of different accounts, and most of those accounts don't have any Ethereum, so they can't send any funds anyway. Someone would have to put Ethereum in them first before they can send them, and blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't mean they can't or won't. So, yeah, this is a very, very strong argument to say that it's all circulating supply, just exactly, what says in the contract. But we live in a universe where the vast majority of other tokens out there have this issue that has to be dealt with, and Hex has kind of been conflated with that. But at the end of the day, does it really, really matter? I mean, holy crap, number 18 last time I looked, soon to be number 9, and then 3, and then 2, and then 1 anyway, probably. It was a bit of a kick in the guts, I get it. But I see both sides. I just see both sides.
Me too.
And I predicted it. I predicted it would happen. And I didn't predict it would happen because of some sinister, they got bought out by Binance or some bloody thing. It just made sense in the big picture.
Yeah.
And when they came to ask, Kareem mentioned that it would have been good if they could have explained to Clay and whatnot, and fair enough, but dude's been asking for a long time.
Yes.
Now, okay. Or also, he had already asked Richard directly, got all the answers, and it should have just been done. But then he got confused and started asking questions again a few months later, more recently.
Yeah. No,
and so
I think
he's allowed to do that.
I think Hex, okay, how much do I want to speak in hyperbole?
100%.
I think that there are some really disgusting things that people message Clay, like threatening his life, and I know that that's part of being a public figure, but that's not cool.
It's just normal.
It's not cool.
It's just normal. And it depends why. If the belief of those people was that he had literally sold a soul to the devil, aka Binance or whatever, and had the intentions to harm Hex by destroying the rank and all the rest of that, then if I believed any of that were even remotely factually true, I probably would have sent him some death threats because, drama. Not serious death threats, of course. Just Twitter-style death threats. Because that would have really, really, really sucked. And that would have made him an utter asshole. And I'd be the first one in line to kick him in the balls. He has shifty eyes. I think I have shifty eyes. Has anybody ever bothered looking at my eyes? I'm always looking up there. And now
Did he talk about that live?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
He did. He mentioned it. And that's a challenge. I personally have a huge amount of difficulty looking at people's faces when I'm thinking and talking, especially if I've been asked questions.
That's normal.
It can be normal
To
for
some
some
extent.
people, and
To
we
some
do see it as very shifty, and people that aren't like that don't have problem looking at people in the eyes when they're talking, and their eyes start shifting around. That can be a sign that they maybe not being, whatever. In Clay's case, hell, I don't know. I don't reside inside of his brain, but I guess for me personally, that I predicted that this should have already happened. And I said so on stream, I said as much. I said, when they figure this out, they're going to go, well, hang on, that's not circulating supply. And because I happen to have an in-depth understanding of that problem for ranking sites, for that reason and only for that reason, I was like, well, I think I even tweeted it at some point. I was like, well, what did you expect, guys? But which is a bit rambunctious, but they are technically circulating coins. They are, by any definition, they are technically circulating, and this idea of project-controlled coins is what screwed it up. But the narrative we created through our research just fed directly into that.
The audio is cutting out. I can't hear what you're saying, although the audience might still be able to hear.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear from the audience if I was breaking out in general.
Last time it happened, they said that they could still hear you, but I couldn't. Shout out to Mustang70 for the $5 super chat. Hi, Maddie. What is the location of the Vegas conference venue/address? Are there specific hotels you worked with to get a discount for March 6th through 9th dates? We are renegotiating our contract, so I will keep you updated on that. I plan to do a stream with T-Money probably tomorrow in the middle of the day because I have an appointment. I have another obligation on Saturday when we normally stream every other week. So tune in for that because we're going to have some new information about the address. Thanks for asking.
So, yeah. I'd like to talk to Wales at some point. I have no reason to try and change his mind or anything. I mean, I think his points are perfectly valid, given the context they were made in. I'm not sure that you gave Clay a platform, per se, to do what? Apologize, explain. Yeah, I mean, it just depends. If the belief was that he had acted in a sinister, malevolent way, then hell no, don't give him a platform. But we didn't know, did we? One way or the other, and I don't think we still do. But some people believe they do know, and some people have the very strong opinion that he's just a straight-up liar and it was an attack on the project.
Yeah.
And that may be true. I mean, I don't have evidence to say that it absolutely wasn't. All I have is that this didn't surprise me because I'd seen it coming for ages, and I was more surprised that it took so long. But that's just my good luck, I suppose, in this particular case. It's not like I'm right about everything by any stretch. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well,
but I understand why people were upset. Yeah,
he may have timed it.
He may have. He may be a total prick. I really don't know.
I don't.
And you could make the argument: was it necessary? Did he have to change anything at all? That's another argument. I can just about hear Wells going, "Well, why change anything? Why not just let it be? That's a perfectly good question too. Why change it? Why did it have to change? If you didn't know, then why not just let it be? But, I've already explained why I believe that happened.
He wants to be accurate, and he wants to have credibility. And he's willing to do something super unpopular and lose credibility with one group to gain credibility for himself, right?
Yeah. Like thousands of other tokens versus Hex and a ranking site's credibility. I mean, it makes sense. It does make sense. And it's roughly the same. Hard. It is. We're roughly the same market cap on Nomics now, I think, as on CoinMarketCap. But we're not relegated to page 3 just because.
That's correct.
So on CoinMarketCap, if you take the market cap that they calculate and you see what that total is, you'll realize that, we should actually be on page 1 at CoinMarketCap. They haven't decimated the market cap so low that we just end up on page 3. No. We're actually, last time I looked, which was probably a couple of months ago now, we should have been ranked like number 11 or something. And there's other tokens there too. There's Hex on page 3. The top 10, I think it was, or certainly the top 5 on page 3 should all be on page 1. And some of the ones that are on page 1 should have been pushed off the bottom if you take the market cap figures that CoinMarketCap publish. So they have directly censored Hex, whereas Nomics haven't done that.
They've published criteria that tell you how to be in the top 200 and how to be in the top 5,000 and whether you get listed at all.
Oh, okay, so their policy is now known
consistently to everybody.
Oh, well, there you go. Like I said, we don't need those thinking ranking sites, but we do need the data.
I mean, do people know that? Do people know that CoinMarketCap has had, long before Hex came into existence, had published rules that they still stand by that decide whether you're in the top 200 or not?
I've never read... I've searched for it and I hadn't found anything quite that concise, but I did read some sort of basic T's and C's that they had published that kind of implied how it works. And from that, I believed that after the adoption amplifier was over, that restriction would be lifted, and that never happened. So, I don't know. But if you decide, if you, so here's a thought experiment. I'm average Joe, I'm working my job, I'm doing my thing. Things are tight, I'm managing to save a little bit. I've heard that some friends are investing. What are they investing in? Well, they're investing in this thing called the share market. Oh, cool, I want to invest in the share market. Where can I find a ranking site to find the best shares to buy? No, that's not how it works, right? They're going to go and say, hey, what company are you investing, friend? And what is it and why? And they're going to do their own research. There is no ranking site per se. I mean, if you just went and invested in shares in a company just because it had the highest price or the most growth over the last 12 months or something like that, and that was your only way of, doing things, i.e. creating some rank, you might as well just throw a dart at the board because it ain't going to help you. So it's just weird.
You've been cutting in and out, so I can't hear you.
That's okay. You're reading chat, are you?
Yeah, so they've buried it even more than it was before.
Market, yeah, it was hard to find even back when I found it. It just, I've never had anyone come to me and say, hey, I've heard about this crypto thing through, CoinMarketCap.com. What's your opinion about crypto? What should I do? I don't think I've ever had anyone not in crypto ever mention CoinMarketCap or ever ask me what is the best coin. They don't most of them don't even know that there are multiple coins and tokens. And when I tell them there's tens of thousands across multiple networks, they just glaze over, right? And even then, well, how do we rank them? How do we know which one's the best? It has never been a question. It's just not the way the world works with outbound messaging and getting new people interested. It's just not how it works.
It is for some people.
Once you're in ranking sites
who base it on so
once you're involved in crypto and everything, it makes a lot of sense that you want the data aggregated and you want somewhere you can go and check the rank of this, that, and sort and everything. But for new onboarding, it's there's no ranking sites for the share market, so it's not a thing that people do. They don't say, oh, I'm interested in shares, let's go check out the share market rank site and see who's the best. They just don't exist. That's not a thing. But it's become a big thing in crypto for some reason.
Yeah.
In the share market, your market cap is just one of the data points to look at among everything else. That's it. That's all it is.
One thing I'm like super thankful for, though, in all of this is the number of people who have reached out to me to express their support whenever I hit my head and whenever I was, FOMOing the Pulse launch and whenever I was, dealing with my friend quitting the show and, all this other stuff. And so I just want to express my gratitude to the community. I've probably gotten over 100 messages. And so even if I haven't replied to all of them, it's just like, it's overwhelming how amazing this community is and how, cared for I feel. Hex Cadet, my life is awesome. Joe Hexotic, Lindsay the Hexican, Hexy Squid, Adri, Johnny No Good, Eric Burns, Hex OG, Lord Hex, Hexican Tony, Hex Live, Hexalted, Sir Hexalot, Gold Key, Scott V, Pulse Doctor, Hexbug, Hex Game Theory, Bearded Aussie, Hextra Hex, Crypto Panda, The Crypto Wookie, Hex Pulse Win, Hex Rewards, Frank Joseph, Crypto Heartbeat, Z Denick, Kyler, Mike Mack, Miyamoto Musashi, Blaze Makes Music, Hextra Dimensional, Hex Force One, Motley Investor, Fully Croissant, Truth Engine Only One, Shalom Defoe, Ma Fellas, Steve Hitson, Hex Monkey, like Hexpat in Brazil, Sticker Guy, Sensei Doze. Those are just the ones on Twitter who message me and those are the ones included. And that doesn't include all the people who message me who Twitter like filtered out. There's probably another 30 on there that are in the message request column. So.
I would certainly hope that there's no new hate or choosing of sides over the events. And at the risk of making it sound like I might be trying to talk on his behalf, which I certainly am not, Wales, his quitting of the show and the reasons stated made absolute perfect sense given context, right? He was very, very clear months ago that we shouldn't be giving an audience to, I can't remember his exact words, so I'll paraphrase, but basically enemies of Hex, Furus, whatever. And he clearly perceived that that's what had happened here, with the interview of Clay. I can see that point of view, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a tricky one. And, for the sake of integrity, when you say that you're not going to tolerate something, and then you perceive that thing's happened, obviously, if you're a man of integrity, you have to stand by it. Otherwise, what the hell? So it makes total sense. Now, it's a tricky position to be in, though, because, like, what say it turns out that Clay wasn't lying and blah, 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 which we'll never know. Then it just comes down to, it was a judgment call. You got to decide sometimes what you believe and what you don't believe. And the call was made. And we don't know. I want to really stress that. We do not know whether Clay lied, attacked Hex, and just sort of covered it up with all the excuses, or whether he's being totally genuine. That's just going to come down to a matter of opinion. So, these things happen, and it makes sense. I respect Wales for sticking to his guns. I think there could have been, and there probably will be more discussion, but...
you're cutting out, sorry.
It's all right, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, the reason that I had Clay on, that was related to my own sense of integrity. And so if Wales doesn't want to be on Quank Gang anymore because of his sense of integrity, then, I support that. For me, it came down to, I knew I had an unpopular stance that I wanted to hear Clay out, and I did. So I had him on. I invited him on, even knowing that it would be controversial. And then I kept, the appointment to have him on, even when I almost changed my mind and decided against him because I was hearing what all the other Hexicans had to say about it. Mm. And the more I listened to the community, the more I heard the same thing, that everybody had made up their minds about Clay. And for some reason, I hadn't yet made up my mind, and I was going back and forth. And so I figured that would be a really good test of my own character, to do something that I knew would be unpopular with my audience, or that would not be accepted by everyone. I had no idea that it would...
To do something that you believed was the right thing to do,
correct,
even though it was unpopular, just to stress that part. You weren't doing it just because it was unpopular. Let's be clear. Yeah,
exactly. And when we talk about, like, sudden Wells syndrome, right? And specifically the symptom of feeling like an imposter, that helped me to be able to be true to myself and to stand up for something that I believed in, which was, I want to know more. I want to ask him questions. And so, I came out really strong at the beginning of the interview and was like, listen, I don't want people posting hateful things or, talking shit in the chat. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. There's... See, Nerd Girl, for example, if we just to point at another example of a person who, it was said that she was giving people a platform, and like Eric, for example, was the one I saw, and I sided with Wales on that one. I was like, no, she shouldn't be using the Hex banner and branding to have discussions with people that are known to be anti-Hex, because it's a branding. No, let me finish. Let me know. But you see, there's nuance in this, because she has a journalistic bent. Her process is to be a journalist and to bring out the truth, good or bad, right?
Yes.
And that's the kind of foundation she stands on, and I agree with that. But I did say to her, when it comes to promotions and branding and that, if it's a person that has spoken out against Hex, said it's evil, said it's a scam, said all these negative things, I don't believe it's a good idea to have their views brought in within the Hex brand. Now, the discussions can be had, streams can be made. I don't care about any of that.
I
But
disagree
no
with you on
company
that.
uses negative stuff as part of the branding.
I disagree with you on that.
No,
We
hang on.
don't-
Let me just finish it off to bring it back to your one with Clay. Clay was not in that position. He had not come out and said Hex was evil and blah 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 and rah rah. He had no reputation. He had one thing that he'd done that pissed a bunch of people off. And I felt that the interview with him was just, hey, dude, what up? Why? And we got to hear his explanation, right?
Yes.
Now, okay, now fair enough. Kareem made the point that had he and potentially Wales been there, they might have been able to explain some stuff that you didn't explain at the time, and you made the point that, well, that can still happen, but there doesn't seem to be any interest in doing that. And so it just comes down to really deciding for all of us individually, is Clay quote unquote evil? Does he hate Hex and did it because he can and he saw no problem with it? Or was he just trying to protect his integrity? And again, we can't know, so we have to make our own decisions on that. And I'm lucky that I don't really give a damn about ranks, so I'm like, yeah, whatever, don't care. But I am saddened that it did cause some division, and I hope that's relatively temporary.
Yes. Same.
Yeah. It makes sense though. Again, it really all makes sense. I get it.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's made any dumb decisions based on what their beliefs and their interpretations were at the time. Seems fine to me.
This person is saying, we're still talking about this? Yeah, because this is my channel and
Therapy.
I'm allowed to beat a dead horse as much as I want. And so...
And I hadn't got to talk about it. It's my turn.
So I would say that I respectfully disagree with you on your comment about Nerd Girl, in the sense that I don't think we own the Hex brand. And I think that even though we're all working hard towards it, to better it, that, at the end of the day, she needs to have her, and I appreciate her independent opinion. She was not always so favorable towards Hex, but she changed her opinion. And in order for her to change other people's opinions, she's going to have to talk to them.
Yeah, I do agree to that. And the comment that I partially quoted of, what I said to her, I didn't say, hey, you shouldn't do that. I just said it the way I just said it then about, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to bring that kind of hate in when it's under the brand and blah, blah, blah. But I finished by saying, of course, it's your channel, your journalism, your whatever, your platform. You should be able to do whatever you want with whomever you want. But, some people have said that they don't like it, and so long as you understand that those people aren't going to change their minds probably, then all power to you.
I have like even more respect for Nerd Girl now that I've had to stand up for something I believed in and have a guest on that was controversial.
It's tough.
And like
I've got nothing against her. I don't. Like, from a purely marketing point of view, I don't think it's the smartest thing to do. But whoever appointed Nerd Girl as, marketing person for Hex? That's not who she is. Just not her stated goal or thing, whatever. So
correct.
So yeah. So I qualify that context. But let's be clear, she's not a marketing person for Hex. It's not who she is, unless she's become that now. But
Yes. And the more that we can tolerate people doing things and saying things, right, that don't always, like, we're not all going to match up, with all of our beliefs and opinions. Richard is going to say that he's not a cat person. And like, if all the cat people stop listening to him at that point, right?
Richard is a cat person. He just hasn't found his inner purr yet.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So at the end of the day, what I'm working on personally is to try to do better at being accepting of other people's point of views, not to accept those views as my own, but to accept that if in this world we only listen to people who agree with us, there will be no progress.
Yeah, and if we all just shut up and do nothing and mind our own business and try not to trade and hodl, there'll probably be progress as well. Just slower. I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm like trying to make a joke. It didn't come across.
Yeah, I haven't finished reading it, so let me see if I still like it at the end of it. RH has anti-hexers on his stream all the time. It makes good content, and overall it is the streamer's choice. Most of the time, it's a good strategy because the anti-hexer makes Hex look good, i.e. Peter. Yes.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. It's hard when you understand the different views and you like the people on both sides. So what do? Like, you're either with us or you're against us. Well, not really. Anyway.
Shout out to Santos Torres. I'm enjoying this conversation. As leaders, we need to bring these people into the space.
Yeah, I mean, if someone has a stated goal of destroying Hex because it's evil, I see no benefit whatsoever in having any kind of debate with them under the Hex branding. But if they've had that stated goal and they come in and there's a stream when they go, well, maybe I'm wrong, try to convince me. Yeah, it's kind of edging towards maybe it's okay, but in my view, still very much not. If the stream turns out to be amicable and, genuine discussion and not just clearly biased this way and that, then great. But you don't know that before you make the stream. And we Hexicans love to do live streams, right? So, yeah. It is up to the individual streamer, and they will suffer the wrath of other people's opinions, just as we all do at all times.
Ben says it's the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Aristotle.
That just no, true.
Only Siths deal in ultimatums.
Now, I want to speak to that too. For me personally, I talk a good game here, and maybe make it sound like I understand how to be rational and not take sides and everything. But anyone who's seen some of my tweets knows that would be incredibly hypocritical of me. I get pissed off and fire off evil tweets kind of routinely, actually. They call it being triggered. Mm-hmm. So I'm certainly not one to preach when it comes down to having an opinion about something, getting triggered and then going, I can hate you, you're a bloody idiot. And I'd like to say, hey, we all do it, but I know that's not even true, unfortunately. I am a drama queen. I absolutely am a drama queen. I can't freaking help it. So, and I'm sure I'm not the only one in the community that's seen something somebody wrote and starting and shot off and blah, 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 only to realize later that, maybe that didn't really achieve anything. I try not to do it, but, and that's another reason I respect Wales and Kareem and yourself, so damn much. You guys,
thank you.
Yeah, you guys you seem to be able to, stay on the track for the most part, and that speaks to that integrity again. My actions do not, as much as it pains me to say this, but my personal actions do not indicate a man of integrity. They just don't. I wish to God they did, but I'm working on it. Sort of.
You have a lot of other really great traits.
Of course I do. I'm perfect except that one thing that Wales has got that I haven't got. I get it. Nah, love you, Wales. But without people with strong integrity who live a life of that kind of integrity and strong conviction and belief, if those people weren't around in this world, people like me would just, I don't even know what, I dread to think. We'd probably return to the primordial ooze. I need people to ground me, you know? A lot of us
Yes.
do. And it's just the way it is.
I've got another thing we can argue about.
Oh, yay.
So, is math all that matters in Hex?
You tell me the formula for the question, and I'll give you the answer.
Exactly. So, I like us bringing up the OA and the AA and all of the A's earlier. You know, the point that I wanted to get back to is that at the end of the day, what matters is the game theory. And so I think there are things that are not just in the numbers, but in the on-chain behavior and in the incentives that have been created. And when we understand
historically
the incentives and the history, then we start to build a more full picture of what could happen in the future.
I'd like to hope that was true. We can certainly build a better picture of what has happened and how we got here. I hesitate to sort of take that bait of
your name
how we
is
can
future
predict
us.
the future.
Your name is literally future us.
Yeah, I know. And trust me,
Don't
the
tell me we
future's
can't predict the future.
The future is nothing like what you think it's going to be. Trust me.
Your name is lying to me right now.
No, that's what
I'm so offended.
That's my message from the future. Is it is nothing like what you thought it was going to be.
Well, why do you think I had to buy a DeLorean?
I'm trying to be so damn tactful about this, but if you're going to just make me come out and say it ain't nothing like what you thought, bro. And every time you tried to make it better, you just made it worse.
I just wish you would have gone on a better timeline like I did.
Hey, you know, I threw a dart at the wall. Didn't expect the steel spike to cause the short circuit in the time machine there, but hey, you know, shit happens.
Yeah. And everybody who doesn't appreciate that I went forward in time and then came back and still decided to interview Clay because it was necessary for the future of Hex.
Well, it was better than the alternative plan you had. I mean, I've seen the alternative timeline where you interviewed that other guy and wound up dead on a spike. So, you know, in all balance, it turned out, it worked out okay.
I'm glad.
See,
you know, that's the thing about like messing with the future and the past is you always have to keep going back and forth to see what happened, you know?
Yeah.
So,
the best thing about being a time traveler is all you really need to vindicate any of your experience is a clear memory of it happening. Technically, it doesn't really matter whether you actually did it or not, because when you go back in time, you kind of erased it anyway. So long as we have the clear memory of the story that we're telling and we believe it's true, then that's all we need, right? As time travelers.
I mean, one of the fathers of memory research and neuroscience, I think Edward Tulving, I think he said memories are a form of mental time travel.
They are.
But, you know, he didn't get rich off crypto so he could buy a DeLorean, so what does he know?
True, yeah, exactly, right. And you don't remember the events of the past, you only remember what you last remembered about the events of the past, which were only a memory of what you remembered before that and so forth.
Speaking of which, can I show a therapy skill?
Okay.
So everybody's heard about Omega 369 and how that can help.
Good stuff.
I also have a recommendation for people to get a Philips deep sleep headband, which
I have one of those.
Yeah, it allows you to get much better quality sleep, which improves your memory, but also there's good evidence, in my opinion, to show that it can prevent Alzheimer's and dementia.
Okay.
And I used it for about a year, and really loved it. It allowed me to get like 2 hours less sleep each night and wake up feeling more refreshed than normal. So
I have issues with sleep apnea, on and off, and after I smacked my head, which involved not quite breaking, but rather severely internally bruising my nose, because it pokes out quite a long way, see? So even with the goggles on, it still got whacked. That kind of clogged up all my sinuses and I couldn't breathe, and so my sleep apnea thing that was intermittent sort of became permanent for a couple of weeks, and oh my goodness, you spend the same amount of time in bed and you think you've been asleep for 8 hours, 9 hours or whatever, but you just don't feel like you've slept at all. And so I can certainly speak to how not getting quality sleep makes shit much worse. So I guess getting really good sleep's got to be really good.
it is fantastic. It helps with emotional regulation, having good ideas. It helps with motivation. It helps with healthy relationships, problem solving, all those prefrontal cortex activities that we count on.
I think I need to work on my
Planning
sleep
for the future. Nathan asks a great question here about the Philips Deep Sleep Headband, which I dropped a link for in the chat. Do you have more intense dreams with the headband? I know it is supposed to take you more deeply into sleep, but just curious if it had an impact on dreams. So yes, it allowed me to remember my dreams better, but also I could tell my memory was better in general. And so that's good. In terms of how intense the dreams were, I mean, honestly, like, I'm just going to be real. I want to say that my dreams were like more positive as well, which would make sense. If my brain is healthier, then my dreams are
yeah. Also, if you're getting better sleep and any low-level sort of chronic pains you might have had fade away, because I've found that chronic pain tends to steer dreams into bad places, because I guess the mind's trying to bring in the feelings of pain that you're experiencing while you're asleep and dreaming, and is making that part of the reality in the dream. I've definitely found a link with that. So you're going to get, if that's true, surely more positive dreams if your body is more relaxed, more healed, more, as well as the healthy brain. So there's that as well.
So the way that this works is it plays a sound that you can't necessarily hear, but the audio waves that are built into the headband, if you go back to like my second or third or fourth Hex Therapy stream, I do like a full review. I like put it on and explain how it works. But just the concept here is that so slow waves are created through sound and are able to allow brainwaves to ride on top of those slow sound waves. And that allows transmission of information between the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, which is part of the point of sleep, is to transfer memories from long-term and then beam them into different cells for more long-term storage, but also to take new experiences and to decide what goes into long-term storage and what doesn't. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool how it works, because it also has electrical sensors that go here and here.
Yes.
And the description in the manual says that it's basically waits for you to naturally get into that deeper phase of sleep, and then sort of syncs up with that to hold you there more consistently.
Yes.
So it's not just playing magic sounds. It's
correct.
It's really doing a thing there, which is
fascinating. Yeah. It's reading your brainwaves with two different sensors and knowing which stage of sleep you're in, so that it can, so that it can be maximally efficient. And it's going down to like pretty much a second by second level. I mean, in an 8-hour sleep, it might have 5,000 different times where it's injecting sound basically to, again, allow your brainwaves to do their thing. Brainwaves are normally going to be at higher frequencies when we're awake, And so that makes it harder for the transmission of information between over longer distances, right? Because slow waves travel farther, especially through dense tissue, just like if you have somebody driving through your neighborhood with a really loud sound system, all you can hear the most is the bass, because that's a slow wave signal, and the wave can literally go through a wall and reach your ears, whereas the rest of the music, because it's a higher frequency, bounces off of that wall. And so in the same way, your brain is able to transmit information better. So that's part of the reason why we lose consciousness when we sleep, and then also why the sleep headband facilitates much better sleep.
Yeah, and the prefrontal cortex consumes an enormous amount of electrical energy and everything when it's awake and active compared to the rest of the brain. So that can't help in terms of getting good rest. Interesting that it's involved with dreams and things, but the dreams are generally pretty relaxed events, usually. Less than nightmares, but that's different. And this is where I admit that I don't know what I'm talking about. But it's fun.
Yeah, and so I don't know what grounding sheets are, but I would say, if you're still trying, if you're relatively young and not having memory or sleep problems, and you're still accumulating hex, like, this is not medical or financial advice, but like, if it were me, I would wait. I would accumulate more crypto, and then, but at some point I would, I've bought more than one for myself and for people I care about, because Alzheimer's does run in my family, and because, to be able to prevent that, preventative medicine is a super powerful thing. I believe in the research behind this because it makes so much sense given my neuroscience background and given my experience. There are very few life hacks that I've found that made such an enormous difference. It was incredibly obvious, right? Taking a multivitamin is not incredibly obvious in how much it helps my performance and my cognitive functioning and my quality of life. Like, it is a small, like, maybe imperceivable difference that we know through research is probably good for most of us. However, the omega-3 and the Philips Deep Sleep Headband are two things. Each, when I added them to my life, it was like night and day. Made an incredible difference in my quality of life. So that's why
omega-369, I just can't believe how much of a difference that's made to me. I mean, the worse you get before you start on it, the more you're going to notice a difference, of course. It's one of those things that's either functioning well or it's not. And if it's already functioning well, then I guess adding more is not going to have a profound effect. But in my case, I was saying to Maddie, I literally feel like I'm losing my mind. I can't seem to think clearly anymore. It's like I'm smoking weed almost sometimes, even though I haven't had any for years. Just start a sentence, can't remember what I was going to say. Short-term memory was all screwed up. And so the sleep apnea thing was the first thing we talked about. But then the omega-369 and the breakthrough knowledge that I never knew about the myelination of the nerves, and I need to take more. And I went, okay, well, fine, I'll give it a go because I'm seriously concerned about the way my brain is not functioning right. And I totally didn't believe it would work because I'd taken it before just because people said you should, and it's good, and it supports this, that, and everything else. Never mentioned anything about nerves. And yeah, I'd say after 2 weeks, I realized I was feeling more normal, and after 3 weeks, I was absolutely convinced, and I still am now. I think you can go back to one of the very first streams I did with Maddie, and you can actually see a difference. People have said that. I can't really perceive it because it's just weird watching yourself, but people have said that. Wow, you just seem so much more alert and alive and everything, and I certainly feel like I am. So in my case, yeah, I mean, just in the nick of time, because boy, when you're living in pain and you're not making good decisions because your prefrontal's not working properly for whatever reason, and I've still got the sleep apnea thing to sort out, but your life can take some pretty seriously bad dark turns. It just takes one decision at just the exact wrong time, and I was getting really scared, and I'm just so glad that I'm not in that state now. So that's my little testimony. Damn stuff worked. And if there's anyone who's going to tell you, vitamins, blah, 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 are expensive, pee, blah, 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 it's me. But in this case, the fish oil, thank you.
And you can get omega-369 at your local grocery store. You can check with your doctor if you're on blood thinners, but it's supposed to be part of your normal diet, which is why I don't feel bad or that I'm giving medical advice when I say that the natural human diet is supposed to have about 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of omega-369 each day. The way to start out is to take 1,000 milligrams per day with food for the first week. And then after that, then 2,000 milligrams a day with food if you're not getting significant amounts of omega-3 through your food sources. And Johns Hopkins and different experts also say it's best to not get more than 4,000 milligrams of omega-3 per day, and maybe not more than 3,000. So you want to be in the 1 to 2,000 range, and that will allow your body to have the materials that it needs in order to insulate the electrical wires in your brain. About 25% of the weight of your brain is supposed to be omega-3. And for a lot of people, it's not. So once you get that straight, then it's like upgrading your brain from an iPhone 1 to an iPhone 20. We all know how good the iPhone 20 is.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that transparent display really does it for me, though. But the endless battery life with that new Cold Fusion thing, who knew? They cracked it. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, everybody in the future is pretty unimpressed because they can't remember when you actually had to plug things in to charge them.
Yeah.
So, well, yawn.
Well, they did blow up an island before they got it working properly, but hey, it was probably worth it. I mean, because wow.
Yes, and I definitely have also benefited from making exercise something regular in my life. But for me, it wasn't until I took the easy route of starting to take omega-369, upgrading my prefrontal cortex, right? And then I could get better sleep. Then I could, regulate my, curb my enthusiasm and not be staying out so late, getting better sleep. Then I could exercise, right? And so for the order of operations is going to be different for different people. But the reason why I always bring up the omega-3 first and why I hit that so hard is because it's such an easy win that makes the rest of the wins easier in the future.
One of the other things I was experiencing was sort of like my primal monkey brain was getting too involved all the time, and is the way I describe it. But I'd hear a sound or something, I'd be easily frightened and stuff like that, and and so that affected sleep, which affects everything. And the 369, that was probably one of the first things, thinking back, that sort of settled down, was I just wasn't so easily, so yeah, fascinating stuff.
It's now says, what the absolute best thing was ever for my sleep? Financial freedom.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, it does that. Does help.
Bringing it full circle. Well,
what you lack for quality, you make up for in quantity.
The opportunity to talk with you for an hour and a half, because I really enjoy talking to you, and we had our RH stream earlier, And I was visiting with some really cool people here in Florida, and so I haven't gotten to watch all of it. I assume that he did not announce that Pulse Chain went live today, and so
He didn't not announce.
shame on anybody who said that would happen. Just kidding. LOL. Too early. Oops. And then I also know that there are some other great streams happening tonight, and so I don't want to cut into too much of that, and I hope that we haven't already, but I know that Hexologist streamed earlier, and then Silver the Antidote, who I haven't seen stream in a while. I'm really excited to see his stream tonight. So everybody go check those out. If you're wondering who's streaming at any given time, you can go to a website that I have nothing to do with called HexStreamers.com. Go to HexStreamers.com and see who's streaming at any given time in the community. And yes, Silver the Antidote is live. And so if everybody wouldn't mind just going to Silver's stream, and we're going to raid him and let him know who sent you. Let him know that you came from the Maddie ALLin stream. And let's support our
Couldn't get away fast enough. Thank God you're here.
Silver is an amazing asset to the community. He is one of the greatest experts in chainalysis, and he's doing a stream tonight to look into what have the hex whales been up to in 2021. And so I dropped the link here in the live stream, and then also check out Freddie Quotes, who's also streaming right now for Steak and Bake episode 3. And you can also let him know that we're rating him from my stream, and you can find him on twitch.tv/Freddie Quotes. So whichever stream you're more interested in, whether it's David Feeder and Freddie Quotes and someone else I can't see who are streaming right now about Hex Steak and Bake, or Silver the Antidote, who's going over chainalysis of whales, go ahead and shout him out and let him know where you're coming from. And thanks for tuning in to Hex Therapy Live every Thursday night. Any final words?
No. Not final words. You'll never shut me up.
We'll have to keep having you on then, in that case. And
now and again.
So stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
See you guys. Thanks for
From Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research. There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.